The twin suns of Orlan 5 burned high above the dusty market. The air was heavy with the smell of metal, fuel, and strange spices. Voices of merchants filled the streets, shouting, laughing, bargaining. Colors of banners and glowing signs danced in every corner. But in the middle of this busy market, one figure walked slowly. Her skin was pale blue, almost gray now, and her steps were weak. She was an alien mother, holding a thin blanket close to her chest. Inside the blanket, her baby whimpered softly, too tired even to cry loud. Her long fingers shook as she opened her hand. 3 old coins rested on her palm, dirty, scratched, almost useless. She stared at them for a long moment, her eyes wet and tired. These were all she had left. 3 coins. She stopped at a small stall. The glowing sign above showed the word formula in alien script. Behind the counter stood a fat merchant with sharp teeth. His eyes scanned her quickly, then narrowed with boredom. The mother pointed weakly at a small container of baby formula. "How much?" Her voice cracked. The merchant laughed without even checking the price list. 10 coins. Her chest tightened. 10 coins. She had only 3. She tried again. "Please, I only have 3. My baby is hungry." The merchant leaned forward, his sharp teeth glinting. "This is not a charity, mother. Pay 10 or walk away." The baby coughed, a thin sound like a whisper. She held the child closer, her eyes filling with fear. The crowd around her kept moving. No one stopped. No one cared. The mother closed her fist around the coins. Her heart was heavy, her body shaking. She thought of her mate, long gone, lost in a mind collapse. She thought of her tiny room with no heat, no food. She thought of the nights she had sung to her baby just to hide the sound of hunger. She whispered not to the merchant but to herself. "Maybe tonight. Maybe tonight, my child, we sleep hungry again." Her baby gave a weak cry, almost silent. That sound broke her heart more than any word. She turned away slowly. The coins felt heavy, useless, burning her palm. Around her, the world looked loud and rich. Other aliens buying golden fruits, shining tools, fine cloth. None of them looked at her. None of them cared about the baby in her arms. Her legs shook as she walked past a food stall. The smell of roasted meat made her stomach twist in pain. She wanted to beg. She wanted to scream. But her pride held her back. She was still a mother, and mothers did not beg in front of their children. The market lights flickered above. Her vision blurred. For a moment she thought she might fall. But she forced herself to stay standing. She had to stay strong for the baby. Then she felt it, a shadow. At first she thought it was a merchant's canopy. But when she turned, she saw a tall figure standing behind her. The figure's shape was strange. Broad shoulders, straight back, 2 strong arms. Not alien. Not one of her kind, her breath caught. Humans were rare in this sector. Some said they were dangerous. Others said they were protectors. No one agreed. But everyone whispered about them. This one was silent, standing like a statue. His clothes were dusty from travel, but his eyes were sharp, watching her. The mother felt her chest tighten again. Fear? Hope? She could not tell. Her arms tightened around her baby. She wanted to hide the child from his gaze. The human's shadow stretched long over her small figure. The noise of the market seemed to fade. For a moment it was only her baby, and the silent human. The mother lowered her head. Maybe he would pass. Maybe he would not notice her. But his eyes stayed fixed on her trembling hands, the 3 coins slipping between her fingers. She felt her heart race. What did he want? Why was he staring? The baby coughed again. Weak, too weak, and in that silence, the human took a single step closer. The sound of his boot against the stone floor echoed like thunder in her ears. Her breath stopped. The human's shadow still lingered. But before his steps brought change, the alien mother's mind pulled her back. Memories came uninvited, sharp as broken glass. Once, not long ago, she had not been so poor. She had a mate. He worked in the mines outside the city, digging rare metals for the Empire. He had strong arms, a loud laugh, and dreams of saving enough money to move their little family to a better place. But the mine had collapsed without warning. The ground shook, the air filled with dust, and hundreds never returned. Her mate was one of them. She had waited all night near the mine gates, her baby still inside her belly then, hoping, praying. But in the morning, the overseers came with bags of ashes. No body, no goodbye, only a cold bag of gray dust. Since that day she had been alone with her child. The marketplace reminded her of that loneliness every day. She tried to work. She polished tools for mechanics. She cleaned stalls for merchants. She even carried heavy crates until her back screamed in pain. But no matter how hard she worked, the pay was always too small. Always less than promised. Always coins instead of food. And if she argued, they simply found another desperate soul to take her place. Now, with her child weak in her arms, she stood in the middle of the crowd, unseen. The voices around her were harsh. Fresh fruit. 2 for 5 coins. Armor polish. Best in the system. Don't touch that thief. Every word cut her deeper. She wanted to shout at them, "Don't you see me? Don't you hear my child?" But no voice came from her lips. Her pride was a cage. Her fear was a chain. Her baby gave another thin cry. She rocked the little one gently, whispering a lullaby that had no power to feed. From the corner of her eye, she saw a group of young aliens laughing. They tossed glowing fruit into the air and let it fall, wasting it, letting it smash on the ground. She bent down quickly, trying to grab one piece, but a guard kicked it away before she could touch it. "Not for you," he spat. The baby coughed again. A hollow, rattling cough. She straightened her back. Her eyes burned. For a moment, rage pushed against her sorrow. She wanted to scream at them all. She wanted to tear through the market until anyone cared. But the moment passed. Her legs felt weak again. She pressed the baby closer, trying to share her warmth. The child's skin was too cool, too pale. Fear grew in her chest like a heavy stone. She moved to a quiet corner of the market. There, she sat on the edge of a broken step, staring at the coins in her palm. Only 3. She closed her hand, then opened it again, as if maybe more would appear. But nothing changed. Her mind whispered cruel thoughts. Maybe I should give the child away. Maybe someone richer would keep him alive. Maybe this life is too cruel for him. The thought broke her. Tears ran down her cheeks. She shook her head fiercely, whispering to her baby, "No. No, I will never leave you. You are all I have." The baby moved slightly, weak but still alive. That tiny movement gave her just enough strength to stand again. She tried once more. She went back to the merchant. "Please," she begged. "Look at my child. Just a little milk. I will work for you tomorrow. I will clean your house, anything." The merchant's eyes were cold. 10 coins, no less. "Leave before I call the guards." The mother's body trembled. Her throat felt dry. She wanted to scream, but no sound came. As she turned away again, her baby let out a sound, not just a cough this time, but a thin, broken cry that pierced the noise of the marketplace. Heads turned. For a moment, some stared. But then, like always, they looked away. She felt invisible. A ghost walking among the living. Her feet dragged across the stone path. She did not know where she was going. Maybe home, maybe nowhere, and then she felt it again. That shadow, that presence. The human had not left. He was still there, still watching. His eyes were not cruel, not bored, not mocking like the others. They were steady, focused, like he truly saw her. The mother's heart raced. She did not know if it was danger or salvation, but one thing she knew for certain: her struggle was not over. It had only just begun. The alien mother clutched her baby closer as the shadow stretched across the ground. Her heartbeat quickened. In her world, shadows often meant trouble. A guard, a thief, or a cruel stranger. But this shadow was different, longer, heavier, sharper. She dared to lift her eyes. A human stood before her. He was taller than any being around. His frame broad, his shoulders square. His skin carried the warm tone of the distant earth she had only heard about in stories. His hair was dark, messy from travel. His clothes looked simple: dusty boots, a thick jacket, and a pack slung over his back. But there was something about him that made the air feel heavier. The market noise faded. Or maybe it only felt that way to her. The human's eyes met hers. They were not cold, not mocking like the merchant's, but steady, calm, searching. For a moment it felt as if he was looking straight into her soul. The mother's first instinct was fear. Humans were rare here. She had seen only 2 in her lifetime, both soldiers. The stories whispered about humans were endless. They were strong. They were dangerous. They were proud. They were strange. Some called them heroes. Others called them monsters. No one truly knew. And now one stood in front of her, silent, watching. She pulled her baby tighter, almost hiding the small face under the cloth. Her body trembled. She lowered her gaze, hoping he would pass, hoping he would not notice her weakness, her hunger, her shame. But he did not pass. He took one step closer. His boot struck the stone with a dull echo. The mother's breath caught. Her 3 coins slipped from her hand and fell to the ground with a soft clink. She froze, unable to bend down and pick them up. The human's eyes followed the coins, then shifted back to her face. His expression changed, not with laughter, not with cruelty, but with something else. Something she could not name, he spoke. His voice was deep, clear, and calm. The words were in common trade language, simple but strong. "Do you need help?" The mother's lips parted, but no sound came. She shook her head quickly, almost violently. No. Pride screamed at her. Fear screamed louder. She could not accept anything from a human. What if he wanted something in return? What if this was a trick? Her baby, as if mocking her silence, gave a soft cry. A weak, desperate sound. The human's eyes softened. He crouched slightly so he was not towering above her anymore. His movements were slow, careful, as if he did not want to scare her further. From his pack, he pulled a small pouch. It jingled with the sound of credits, more than enough to buy food for days, maybe weeks. He held it out toward her. The mother's chest tightened. Every part of her wanted to snatch it, to run, to finally give her child the milk he needed. But her hand stayed frozen. She could not move. She whispered hoarsely, "Why?" One word. That was all she managed. The human tilted his head slightly as if the question surprised him. Then he gave a small smile, not wide, not arrogant, but gentle. "Because no child should starve," he said. The words hit her like a shock. Simple, clear. No trick. No demand. Her throat burned. She wanted to believe him, but years of suffering had taught her better. In her world, nothing came free. Kindness was a myth told to children before bed. She shook her head again, stepping back. I cannot." The human did not move his hand away. He simply waited, patient as a mountain. Around them, the marketplace carried on, but whispers began. Other aliens noticed. Eyes turned toward the strange sight of a human offering help to a poor mother. Some sneered. Some frowned. Some only watched in silence. The mother's heart pounded. The baby whimpered again, louder this time. She could almost feel the child's ribs through the blanket. Her pride fought her hunger. Her fear fought her hope. The human finally spoke again, his voice lower, almost gentle. "Take it. Feed your child. That is all I ask." The mother's eyes filled with tears. She hated herself for it, but her hands began to rise slowly, shaking, reaching toward the pouch. Then she stopped. The merchant, the one with sharp teeth, stepped forward. He looked nervous now, his eyes darting between the human and the crowd. "Sir," he said quickly, bowing his head, "this woman cannot pay. She wastes your time. Perhaps you would like better goods?" "I have many. Expensive ones." The human's eyes flashed with something sharp, not anger but power. He stood tall again, towering over the merchant. His voice cut like steel. "Formula. For the child now." The merchant swallowed hard. His hand shook as he grabbed the container from the shelf. He placed it on the counter with a bow, avoiding the human's gaze. The mother stared, stunned. She had begged this same merchant minutes ago. He had laughed at her, but with a single word the human had made him bend. The baby let out a soft cry as if sensing the change. The human handed the pouch to the merchant. "Keep the change." The merchant's eyes widened at the amount. He nodded furiously, pushing the formula forward. The human turned back to the mother. For the first time his smile grew a little warmer. "Take it," he said. Her trembling hands reached out. The container touched her fingers. It was real. It was hers. Her baby stirred in her arms, weak but alive. And in that moment, for the first time in years, the alien mother felt something she had nearly forgotten. Hope. The formula container was light in her hands, but it felt heavier than stone. The alien mother stared at it as if it might vanish any second. Her baby stirred weakly in the blanket, and for a moment she almost forgot to breathe. But then fear returned. Nothing in her life had ever been free. Every coin, every crumb, every breath had always cost her something. She had learned the hard way that help always came with chains. She looked up at the human. His tall frame blocked the sun, casting her in shadow. His face was calm, his eyes steady. Too steady. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "What do you want from me?" The human tilted his head slightly. "Want," he repeated. His tone held no anger, only surprise. "I want nothing. Only that your child eats." Her chest tightened. It sounded too simple, too clean. She didn't believe it. She couldn't. She shook her head and held the container back toward him. Take it, I cannot owe you. The human didn't take it. Instead, he slowly crouched down again, lowering himself until he was at her eye level. His movement was calm, careful like one might approach a frightened animal. You don't owe me, he said softly. You owe your child, feed him. That is your only debt. The mother's hands trembled. Her heart screamed to believe him, but her mind whispered all the old lessons of pain. Kindness is a mask. Gifts are traps. Trust no one. She turned her face away, hugging her baby tighter, whispering into the blanket. I cannot trust you. Humans. Humans are dangerous. The human did not argue. He did not insist. He simply sat back on his heels and waited. His silence was strange. It was not the silence of cruelty nor the silence of boredom. It was the silence of patience. Around them, the marketplace continued, but the air had shifted. A circle of watchers had formed. Aliens of different shapes and colors stood at a distance, whispering to each other. Some frowned, some sneered, some only stared with curiosity. One voice hissed from the crowd. She's a fool. She'll take it and lose more later. Another voice laughed. Look at the human, wasting his credits on trash. A third voice whispered, almost afraid. Maybe this is what makes humans different. The mother heard them all. Their words cut her deeply. Shame burned in her chest. She wanted to vanish, to sink into the ground. But her baby's weak cry pulled her back to reality. The human reached into his pack again. This time he pulled out a small flask of water. He opened it and held it out, not to her but toward the child. Here, he said gently. Not formula yet, but this will help him breathe easier. Her eyes darted between the flask and his face. Suspicion fought with desperation, but the child coughed again, louder, sharper. Her instinct screamed louder than her fear. She lifted the blanket slightly and let a drop of water fall to her baby's lips. The baby swallowed. The cough softened. A tiny sigh came from the child's chest. The mother's eyes filled with tears she could no longer hold back. The human's face softened even more. He did not smile widely, but his lips curved with quiet relief as if the baby's breath had healed something inside him too. The merchant, still nearby, muttered under his breath. Stupid woman. Stupid human. But he didn't dare say it louder. The human's presence held a weight none of them wished to challenge. The mother finally whispered almost to herself. Why? Why help me? The human looked at her for a long moment. His voice when it came was quiet but firm. Because once long ago someone helped me. The mother blinked. She had not expected that. A story, a past. The human was not just a stranger. He was someone who had known suffering too. Her pride cracked just a little. She looked at the formula again. Her hands shook less this time. She held it close, pressing it against her chest as if to test whether it was truly hers. The human stood slowly, his tall figure rising once more. He looked down at her, not with pity but with respect. He spoke again, his words carrying a strange weight. Someday when you are able, help another. That is enough. The crowd whispered louder now, some mocking, some thoughtful. But the mother no longer cared what they said. Her baby needed her. Her baby needed this. With trembling fingers, she opened the container. She mixed the powder with the water, her hands clumsy but desperate. She lifted the small cup to her baby's lips. The baby drank, slowly at first, then eagerly. Tiny gulps, weak but alive. The sound filled the mother's ears like music. She broke. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Thank you. Thank you." The human said nothing. He only gave a small nod, as if the sight of the child drinking was all the thanks he needed. For the first time in years, the mother felt a light inside her chest, small, fragile, but real. Hope. But as the baby drank and the human turned his gaze back toward the crowd, one question still lingered in the mother's mind. If kindness could truly exist in such a cruel world, what else was possible? The baby drank slowly, his small lips pressed against the cup, weak hands clutching the cloth around him. Each tiny gulp was a victory, each swallow a lifeline. The alien mother watched, her tears flowing freely now, her shoulders shaking. For the first time in many nights, her child was not crying in hunger. For the first time, the mother did not feel like a failure, but even as relief filled her heart, a shadow of fear crept in again. She glanced at the human. He stood tall beside her, silent, his face unreadable. Around them, the crowd continued to whisper, their voices like snakes hissing in her ears. Humans always want something in return. Wait and see. He'll take more than he gave. No one is that kind. It's a trap. The words struck her harder than she wanted to admit. She knew this world. She knew how cruel it could be. Why would a human, a stranger, give without asking? Her fingers tightened around the baby as if protecting him from an unseen threat. The human noticed her stiff body. He turned slightly toward her, his sharp eyes meeting hers. But instead of anger, there was calmness, a strange calmness that almost unsettled her more than rage would have. "Your child will live tonight," he said quietly. His words should have been comforting, but her mind twisted them into something darker. Tonight, only tonight? And what about tomorrow? She lowered her gaze, whispering to herself, "This cannot last. Nothing good lasts." The baby finished drinking and gave a soft sigh, falling into a small sleep in her arms. She stroked his fragile head gently, but her heart still raced. The human's voice broke the silence again. "What is your name?" Her head snapped up. Fear filled her chest. Why did he need her name? Did he plan to find her later? To demand something she could not give? She shook her head quickly, her voice sharp. "No name. You do not need it." The human did not press. He simply nodded once and looked away toward the glowing signs of the marketplace. His patience was unnerving. He did not argue, did not force. But that only deepened her confusion. A guard appeared at the edge of the crowd, his armor shining, his eyes scanning the scene. He frowned when he saw the human and muttered into his comm device. The mother's chest tightened again. Guards never meant safety for people like her. They meant trouble. The human saw the guard too. His jaw tightened slightly, but he did not move. He simply shifted his stance as if ready for something, though his face stayed calm. The merchant, the one who had mocked her earlier, tried to slither back into the shadows, afraid of the attention. But the guard barked, "You! What is happening here?" The merchant stammered, pointing at the mother. She was begging, making trouble. But this human, he was interfered. The mother's blood turned cold. Trouble. That word meant punishment. That word meant pain. She clutched her baby tighter, fear returning full force. Her knees weakened. Should she run? But where could she go? The human stepped forward before she could move. His presence was like a wall between her and the guard. His voice was steady, sharp. "There is no trouble here. I paid for what I bought. Do you see a problem with that?" The guard hesitated. His eyes narrowed at the human. Everyone knew humans were powerful, sometimes dangerous. Even guards thought twice before crossing them. Still, the guard's voice was hard. "Begging is not allowed in this market." The mother's heart sank. She wanted to shout that she hadn't begged, not truly. She wanted to cry that she had only asked for mercy, but her voice failed. The human's reply came cold and firm. "She didn't beg. I offered." She accepted. "Do you plan to punish generosity?" The guard shifted uncomfortably. Whispers rose in the crowd again. Some nodded, some sneered, but all watched. The guard finally stepped back. His eyes lingered on the mother, sharp and warning. Then he turned and walked away, muttering into his device again. The mother exhaled shakily. She had been seconds away from losing everything, but relief did not bring peace. Instead, a darker thought pressed into her mind. What if the human's help had only made things worse? What if the guards came later when he was gone? What if they took her child away? Her hands shook. She wanted to scream at the human, to tell him he didn't understand. That kindness was dangerous here. But when she looked at him again, she saw only that same calm gaze. It made her chest ache. Because part of her wanted to believe him. Part of her wanted to trust. But trust was a risk she had never been able to afford. She whispered to herself, too soft for anyone else to hear. What if you're not my savior? What if you're my ruin? The human, as if sensing her thoughts, finally spoke again. His voice was low, steady. Fear will not feed your child. Hope might. The words cut deep. She turned her face away, torn between wanting to believe and wanting to run. The baby stirred softly in his sleep, unaware of the storm in his mother's heart. And as the market lights flickered and the human's shadow stretched longer, the mother realized something terrifying. This was not the end of her struggle. This was only the beginning of a test far greater than hunger. The baby's breathing grew softer, steadier. His little chest rose and fell with a fragile rhythm, like the faint beat of a distant drum. The mother felt the warmth of life in her arms again, and tears blurred her vision. For so long, every night had been the same. Her baby crying, her heart breaking, and her coins never enough. But tonight was different. Tonight her child drank, slept, and lived. She lifted her gaze. The human still stood beside her, silent, strong, watching not her but the child, as though the tiny life in her arms mattered as much to him as it did to her. The marketplace had grown restless. Some onlookers began to drift away, their curiosity fading. Others stayed, whispering in low voices, stealing glances at the human with a mix of suspicion and awe. The merchant had retreated, hiding behind his stall, pretending to busy himself with other customers. The guard had disappeared down the street, but the memory of his eyes still lingered in the mother's chest like a warning. Her heart pounded. She should leave. She should run back to her tiny room and lock the door before more trouble came. But her legs would not move. Her body remained still, caught between fear and gratitude. The human finally spoke. "You are stronger than you think." She blinked, startled by the sudden words. "What?" "You carried him through hunger, through loss, through days when others would have given up. That is strength." His voice was calm, but there was a weight behind it, as if he spoke from his own scars. The mother's lips trembled. No one had ever called her strong. Most only called her poor, or weak, or desperate. Her eyes dropped to the ground. "Strength does not feed a child." "No," the human agreed softly. "But it keeps you moving until you find food." She hugged her baby tighter, her throat thick. His words were strange, simple, yet they pierced the walls around her heart. The human shifted his pack and reached inside again. This time he pulled out a small cloth bundle. He opened it and revealed a few pieces of dried food, bread, fruit, and something that smelled faintly sweet. He held it out to her without a word. Her eyes widened. More? Why? She had already taken enough, too much. Suspicion rose again, sharp as a knife. But before she could speak, the baby stirred, his tiny mouth searching even in sleep. The sight broke her hesitation. Her hand reached out, trembling, and she took a piece of bread. The bread was rough but soft enough to chew. She tore it with her teeth and chewed slowly, letting the taste fill her mouth. It was plain, but to her, it tasted like the richest meal in the universe. She had forgotten what it was like to eat without fear. The human's eyes softened as he watched her, not with pity but with quiet respect. The mother swallowed hard and whispered, "I cannot repay you." The human shook his head. "You don't need to repay me." "Not to me, then why?" Her voice broke. "Why me? There are many hungry in this city, many with empty hands. Why stop for me?" The human's eyes grew distant, as if looking far beyond the crowded market. His voice when he spoke was quiet but heavy. "Because once when I was lost, someone stopped for me." Her breath caught. She wanted to ask more, but his face told her not to press. Whatever memory lived inside him was both painful and sacred. She lowered her gaze again, feeling the formula container warm against her hand, the bread heavy in her stomach, the baby warm in her arms. For the first time in years, her chest did not feel hollow. Hope flickered inside her like a fragile flame, small, unsteady but alive. The human broke the silence once more. His voice was firm, almost commanding, yet gentle. "Remember this moment. Not for me, for him." He nodded at the sleeping child. "When he grows, tell him that kindness is real, that even in dark places someone can still choose to care." Her tears fell freely now. She nodded weakly, unable to speak. The human's gaze softened. "And one day when you are able, help another as I helped you. That is all I ask." His words settled deep inside her heart. They were not heavy like debt, not sharp like chains. They were light like a seed planted in dry soil waiting for rain. The mother looked down at her baby's small face. For the first time, she did not see only fear of the future. She saw possibility. She whispered to her child, "You will live. You will grow. You will know kindness." The human gave a final nod. Then slowly he stepped back. The crowd parted around him like water around stone. No one stopped him. No one dared. He walked through the marketplace with steady strides, his tall figure fading into the distance. The mother watched him go, her heart torn between relief and longing. She had no name to give him, no gift to return, no promise except the one she whispered to her child. As the suns dipped lower in the sky and shadows stretched long across the stone streets, she held her baby close and whispered again, "You will live. Because of him. Because not all stars are cold. The human disappeared into the marketplace, his tall figure swallowed by the shifting crowd. The alien mother stood frozen, her child resting against her chest, the container of formula still clutched tightly in her hand. For a long time she could not move. She only stared at the place where he had walked away, the space now empty but heavy with memory. The marketplace slowly returned to its rhythm. Merchants shouted again, colors flashed, laughter rose and fell. To the crowd it was just another day, just another strange event soon to be forgotten. But to the mother, nothing was the same. She lowered herself to the broken step where she had sat before, the one where despair had almost swallowed her. Only now she no longer felt invisible. She no longer felt like a ghost walking among the living. She felt the weight of hope, fragile but real, burning in her chest. Her baby stirred in his sleep, his tiny mouth twitching as if in a dream. His breathing was stronger now, his skin warmer against her arm. She stroked his head gently, whispering words she had never dared before. You will grow. You will live. And one day, you will know kindness. Her voice cracked, but her heart was steady. The 3 old coins still lay on the ground where they had fallen earlier. She picked them up slowly, one by one, staring at them. They had once been her only hope, her last defense against hunger. Now they seemed almost meaningless compared to what the human had given. Still, she held them in her palm. Someday, she thought, these coins could be the start of something else. A gift, a gesture, a chance to pass on what she had received. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The shadows of the marketplace stretched long, and she knew she had to return home before nightfall. She rose, her legs stronger than before, her steps steadier. As she walked, she noticed something strange. The aliens who had once sneered now looked at her differently. Some with curiosity, some with respect, and some with something close to shame. The sight of the human's act had left a mark, not only on her but on them too. She carried her child back through the winding streets until she reached her tiny room on the edge of the city. The door creaked open, the air inside cold and empty as always. But tonight it felt less like a prison and more like a shelter. She laid her baby on the thin blanket, mixing more of the formula and feeding him carefully. His small hands moved weakly, his lips sucking with determination. And then, it happened. For the first time in many weeks, her baby smiled. It was a tiny smile, barely there, but it lit her heart brighter than the twin suns above. She laughed softly, tears falling again, and whispered, "Yes, my child. Smile. The world is not all cruel." She sat back watching her child sleep peacefully for the first time in so long. The memory of the human's voice echoed in her mind. "One day when you are able, help another as I helped you." The words rooted deep inside her. They grew like a seed planted in the dry soil of her soul, and she knew with certainty that she would not let the promise fade. Days turned into weeks. The baby grew stronger, his cries louder, his eyes brighter. The mother found new work, not much, but enough. And each time she held a coin in her hand, she remembered the weight of those 3 coins, and the heavier weight of the kindness she had received. One evening, as she walked through the marketplace again, she saw a figure she recognized. Not the human, he was gone, perhaps forever, but another mother. Poor, thin, her child crying in her arms, her eyes full of the same despair the alien mother had once known. The crowd ignored her, just as they had ignored before. Merchants laughed, guards scowled, and the woman stood trembling, clutching a few worthless coins. The alien mother felt her chest tighten. She remembered the taste of helplessness, the sound of cruel laughter, the pain of being invisible. And then she remembered the human's words. She stepped forward. Her legs trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the choice. She reached into her small pouch and pulled out 2 coins. They were not much, but to the other mother they were life. "Take this," she said softly, "for your child." The poor mother stared at her in shock, her hands shaking as she accepted the coins. Tears filled her eyes. "Why? Why would you help me?" The alien mother smiled, her own tears shining. "Because someone once helped me." The words tasted powerful on her tongue, like truth, like destiny. And in that moment, the human's legacy lived on, not in grand monuments, not in riches, not in power, but in kindness carried forward from one soul to another. The stars shone bright above the city that night. And as the alien mother returned home, her baby in her arms, she whispered once more, "Not all stars are cold. Some burn warm. Some light the way,